Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of the Red Devils Corner Kick Podcast, a fan podcast dedicated to Manchester United Football Club. As always, like, subscribe, follow, whether you're listening to on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and or watching and listening on YouTube. Don't forget to also like, subscribe, follow, comment as well if you're also following me on Instagram, TikTok, and X as well. It is Tuesday. It's definitely been a unusual 48 hours, to say the least, after the Leeds match. And crazy 24 hours if you need to be reminded about what happened with Manchester United yesterday with the sacking of Ruben Amorim. Yes, I know, like many, they posted their episodes out yesterday about Ruben Amorim and, the sacking. I have said on many times on this episode, I have always been Amorim in. There were the comments that were made Sunday after the game. I mentioned them a little bit in my post-game episode of the match as well. I am doing the Burnley preview in this episode as well, so that'll be happening later on in the episode. But yes, we'll address what is going on now. Am I happy with the sacking? The answer is definitely no. How do I feel about the sacking? How do I put this in the nicest Canadian way possible? Let's just say that Wilcox, Barada, Sir Jim got called out and the truth, and they sacked them. I was not happy with this decision. I've always believed in Ruben. I believe in what the philosophy of what he was trying to do. We were getting a stronger locker room. We were building something. It is going to take time. I knew it wasn't going to take 14 months. I knew it was going to take at least minimum 3 years to get us into that way, to get everything right. Wilcox, Barada, Sir Jim knew who Ruben Amorim was, what he was about, what system that he wanted. This is all on them. They got called out. Their egos were hurt, and they sacked the manager. In the last 14 months, we'll say 16 months, to say the least. Excuse me. I kind of posted this on my Twitter. Basically, in the last 16 months, 17, 18 months, they have spent close to probably between 43.5 to probably 45 million pounds in compensation in regards to sacking Ten Hag, paying the release clause for Dan Ashworth and then sacking him, paying the release clause to Sporting for Ruben Amorim, and then sacking Ruben Amorim. And that's not even including the salaries that they were already paying on for them. So Amorim got paid for 14 months. Ten Hag got extra time, but then got paid out the remainder. So basically, looking at it here, you're looking at basically, give or take, between 43.5 to probably 45 million pounds in money spent just on that. And then we sack all these people to be cost effective and all that, and then we spend 45 million on those three. Ineos has done a terrible job. They knew everything that was going on, and they still did it. I understand the reports that Ashworth didn't want that he tried to explain everything to them. It sounds like Wilcox, Barada, Sir Jim, well, actually more like Sir Jim letting go of Dan Ashworth because he didn't like what he was saying. So it definitely sounds like this board, this ownership, is failing the club miserably. The Glazers, on the other hand, are sitting on the sidelines eating popcorn, though Joe Glazer is part of this board, which he shouldn't be. It should just be strictly Ineos and them handling it, but that's what's happening. It's time for this ownership to go. I think this board or whatever that they have has to be relinquished in the summer. I know we can't sell the club. I know they can't. But it would be a perfect dream for United if they did. I'm not looking at results or whatever and what the media are spitting out. I know that Ruben Amorim spoke the truth, and he was sacked for it. He was honest. He was always there. Even after a win, he mentioned everything. He was always there. There was positives, there's negatives, but he always talked about that there's always more work to be done. Was he always perfect? The answer is no. Were the players perfect? No. And like I mentioned in one episode, I think this was earlier on, and because the thing is, I saw a report today and whatever about Ruben Amorim, one of his practices, that Ruben Amorim could literally go on the field for some of these players, tell them where the fuck they needed to be, and they would still fuck it up. The reason why I bring that up is because there was a mention of a report of a practice where his practices would be like walkthroughs, but he would have to literally pull the player on where they needed to be and do it. That's what's hilarious about it, that I literally had to mention that he would have to drag players to be there to tell them where they needed to be. You can set up a game plan, but if the players just are fucking it up, they fuck it up. For now, I understand the replacement and who they're looking at here. I'll get to a replacement manager in a couple minutes. But in the end, this is a failure on the ownership. It is. For how they have everything set up, trying to undermine Ruben Amorim, telling him how to do his things. They knew that he was set for a 3-4-3, which I was okay with. For the longest time, we were asking Ten Hag to get a system and get a style of play. We get the manager that we always wanted to have, that to stick to his guns. Realistically, in the end, as much as I'm talking about the ownership as well, and I'll say something too after this, we praised him for being who he was. We saw improvement. They just look at results. They're just looking at what the whole of 2025 was. I don't care what he did last season. We knew it wasn't going to be, oh, here we go. Yes, we lost the final. We lost. So be it. We lost finals before that. Ollie lost, so on and so forth. Excuse me. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But going back to it, yes, we finished 15th, but I knew it was going to be a down year. Nobody was going to rebound. We went through 3 managers in that. We're on our 4th manager in 12 months. 15 months, sorry. 4 managers. What is this ownership doing? It's time for them to, yes. I'm giving this as my episode of Ineos and Glazers out. I know at one point, I will say this, at one point I wanted to see how the season was going to go. I just wanted to hold off and see maybe things were going to be lightening up. This is the era where we're going to start building. That was a load of shit. Obviously it was. Listen, I'm happy with some of the players that we got. I know the manager, like Ruben, did not have full say, but he was trying to build and get something now. Remember, fans, like, this is where now my comment is going to be. I myself, it was always Amorim in, and I know there was some fans out there that was Amorim in, and I know there's some Instagram and YouTubes that were there. And I know that there is a lot of fan channels that flip-flop back and forth. It's the truth. There have been. There have been those fan channels, you know who they are, that have basically, and I've seen the Instagram posts of people calling them out too. But the fan base, some of those fan channels contributed to what has happened, including ex-players. Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, they have contributed to this. Rio has been borderline, but he is always the way he has been with, and he has expressed himself. But Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, Nicky Butt, you've Wayne Rooney, who was driving me, especially with after the comments of what he said. Listen, he has every right to say that. He even admitted he's not those managers, but Amorim was the manager of Manchester United. He was leading us, and he has every right to say that he had to be backed. We needed to be backed. Like I always mention, I'm not going to believe everything until I see them with our social media team signing everything and saying, welcome to Manchester United. But when we look at everything here and now, there are so many contributing factors: the ownership, the fan base, ex-players, contributing to how this environment is at Manchester United. It is toxic. It is horrible. Obviously, they're listening to ex-players, those ex-players that expect the old way. Let me tell you one thing, and I'm going to say this. And I saw a post today, too, about someone saying Manchester United is not a well-run big club. This is just not well-run because of Fergie. I will say this to all those ex-players that we talk about. If Fergie does not have those 5 to 6 years of hell like we did, listen, there were good times with him. I'm not saying that there weren't, but there were times where we were bad, and there was times that they were calling for him. If you know that semifinal, in the FA Cup where, if they don't win that FA Cup semifinal, he's gone. But for what he went through, for him to continue on, because he didn't win a league. He finished sometimes in the top 5. There's times when he finished outside the top 10. But one more second. But there was times where he was aiming to be sacked. The fans were protesting to have him gone. The signs were there. And boom, 1992 happens and everything explodes. That doesn't happen without Fergie. Everything that Fergie does from that point on to now, to 2013, for Wayne Rooney, Cristiano Ronaldo, Scholes, what happened with Keane, the reemergence of you having Evra, Ferdinand, all these players, that doesn't happen without Ferguson. Ferguson did protect, after the sale to the Glazers, Ferguson protected the players, protected what he had established. And the Glazers knew they weren't powerful enough to take on Fergie. But the history of the club there's a big history. It's not just the Premier League. It's not just Sir Alex Ferguson. It is Matt Busby taking them from Division 2 back into Division 1, winning the European Cup after what had happened in 58, bringing players like the United Trinity, having success, winning those leagues. That's establishing a culture. Yes, we had an era where we went back to that we were relegated. We dropped to Division 2, come back. People do forget that history before and all that. And I've said this before in episodes. We are the biggest commercial club in the world. Liverpool's success is bigger than ours, especially outside of the Prem. They have successfully won. They have for the way they've won at the European stage. But for us, being commercialized and then compared to being the biggest club in the world, that's not the truth. We are not the biggest club in the world. Real Madrid, you can talk Bayern, you can talk Barcelona, you can even talk some of the Italian clubs, Liverpool. Even right now, the stature of Man City is bigger than, like, the emphasis of it. Commercialized, everyone knows Manchester United. But unfortunately, what we put on the field, especially the last 10 years, has been dreadful. It has. But we were in that focus there, and that's where the ownership, that's where the fans are coming in, because the fans expect everything right now. I wasn't expecting everything right now. I knew with Ten Hag, I knew with Ruben, that it was going to take time to fix everything. Ten Hag even said to the players at one point, they were not winning the league with these players. Ruben Amorim said that we were not winning the Prem. They were honest coaches. They were honest managers that we needed to be there, that we had to have. One thing I loved about was him being honest, him talking about the problems, him understanding what needed to be done. We needed him for the long road. And guess what? Here we are for the interim. We're not going to have a new one until the summer. And I know there's talks of having Ollie come back and be that manager. Listen, I'm still 24 hours over. Well, it's well over 24 hours. It'll be probably close to 48 when this episode comes out. But overall, the way things have been handled, especially since Ineos has taken over, hasn't been the best. I was a supporter of having Ten Hag extended. They still backed him. They shouldn't have sacked him. They should let him finish out the season. That way, Ruben would have came in. If they wanted everything to work out well, if they did, then they should have been in control right from day one. This ownership hasn't been in. The way they've handled Nice, from what I've seen and read, it's not working out well. You're hoping for it because, again, Sir Jim is the biggest Manchester United fan ever. I've said that too, but to be fair, I jumped on the bandwagon when they were succeeding and dominating. I was basically starting 2 years after they won the treble. I'll say it. I jumped on the bandwagon. I was telling everyone I was a United fan. The way I am now is not the way I was then. Because again, for me, the way here in North America and everything, the game. But for I'll be honest, I jumped on the bandwagon like many others. It'll be truthful. Man United was the biggest club. When I got there, they were just 2 years removed from the treble when I visited England for the first time. One of the first kits that I bought was a David Beckham Man United jersey. We know, like the band, like again, I was one of them. I have evolved to where basically I lose my mind every time they play, and I've even used the reference. I'll throw my couch to the television, but it is tough to see what is happening. We are united. We have, and I've mentioned that term. We are Manchester United. How sometimes I've hated it because people demand us. We should be demanding and getting the respect. We shouldn't be demanding. When we say that, it's like we're sounding like we're entitled to automatically respect and automatic domination. And I said that in regards to some of those games. Like, people think because we're Manchester United, we should be walking into it and the team should be failing right in front of us and just letting us score. The answer is no. No, that's not what will be happening. That's not the way the game is. It's not the way the game is now. We shouldn't be walking in and be like, oh, we're Manchester United. You should be letting us control you. No. Players are going to show up and they'll take advantage of our weaknesses. And trust me, the weaknesses are a lot more than our strength. Especially in the last couple of games, depth has been our weakness. We have struggled. Excuse me. I do apologize for the cough. Again, the dry, it's a dry cough. Yeah, it's tough to deal with. And I do apologize that all my episodes I've had to interrupt a lot. I use my voice for work as well. So I am consistently talking. So as much as I've been getting over this super flu that's been going around, trying to get my voice to relax and be dry, like, trying to relax, take as much medication as I can. It's at the tail end where that cough just won't go away. But when I talk so much, especially when I'm doing long episodes like I will be doing tonight, it just continues to be irritated. I feel like I've repeated myself on multiple episodes about this. Had to take a little drink there, get the throat ready for some more. But back at it again, like we it's everything that has been going on. Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on here. I don't want to be dropping my water and then having it go over my floor. But the last 10 years, nothing has been done properly. And this is where I'm going to go with American owners, because again, I am in North America, I am in Canada. The way things are here, and you do see it, but you don't it's rare to have managers in certain teams and sports go beyond 5 years. It's the truth. 3 or 4 or 5 years, especially in the NFL, the way you can spend money, build your teams. Sometimes you're interchanging. Sometimes a coach only is there for minimum, maybe a season, 2 seasons. If they're succeeding well, go, but they will forget what you do the previous season before and just let you go now because you're sucking at this season. For us to build, and money can't solve everything, especially in the Prem. Money can't fix everything. You can bring in players all you want, but it can't fix. You have to establish the academy. You have to build. And yes, you can talk about Ruben and the academy. Ruben did care about the academy, ladies and gentlemen. He did. He cared about protecting the players. He mentioned those players. It wasn't anything but not having them there. It is just making sure that they were ready to go in. He mentioned in his press conference last Friday, he mentioned about the academy players. He mentioned about going to Leeds and the environment and hopefully protecting them. That's what he was doing. These kids are young and he wanted to develop them properly. That's why there's the issue with Kobe Mainu. He wants to make sure he's there to be developed. But like there is a lot of stuff going on. But in the end, the way things have been ran the last 2 years has been horrendous. And I do hope the 58 go out and start the protests again. I saw someone mention on one of my TikTok posts. They need to do more. We can't like, again, because we're so commercialized, they're not going to stop buying gear. The whole, like, for how big we are in the world, we can't stop buying it. What we can do is try to, and the problem is too, when you're all visiting, the whole world comes to Manchester to watch it. But the problem is, how are they going to manage the protests? How are they going to, like, they'll make it peaceful like they always do. But how are they going to do it to where it's going to affect Ineos and the Glazers? Are they going to work on a way to not, like, I like, again, postponing a game will suck, but at the same time too, we have to get the attention. What I would also like is for players like Bruno, our captain, certain players there, it would be great. And I understand our fan base isn't the greatest of players, but at the same time too, the players know what's going on there. And you saw their posts and everything. Nobody's giving feedback, but you've seen the interviews with Bruno. But it'd be great for Bruno to say something, have the players say something. It would be great to have that support with it. Because again, if we have the players and the fans unite against the ownership, that hurts the ownership as well. This is, there's so much going on. The negativity, again, our fan base kind of contributes to it. Those fan channels, the media, ex-players, the soft egos of that board in Ineos, Wilcox, Barada, Vilea, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, the new member as well of that board, and as well as Sir Jim. They all took it. Like, so apparently Sir Jim is the one that made the twist. Sir Jim in October said you can't judge him after 3 years. Well, apparently you couldn't accept the way he judged you. So apparently you judging him was that you can't handle criticism. And from what I've been hearing reports, that you know little about football. So that's my talk about it. I'm going to leave it there. It's up to you, those that listen to the pod. Again, thank you to all those that listen, comment, follow, comment on my posts, everything. Like, it's up to you. It's up to us to find a way. I want Ineos out. I want the Glazers out. I want that board out. I want an owner to come in to sweep it all out. I don't care about the new stadium. I care about renovating the current one. They don't care about the product on the field. They just care about the dollars on their balance sheet. And that's what hurts. Listen, I was hoping for a change, and I wanted to give it some time. But guess what? That new era has now changed, and it's 5 months in? They didn't back him. He called you out on it. You sacked him because your egos took the hit. And unfortunately, I don't want that as an ownership. You're you're puppets of the Glazers. You're trying to make the manager be your puppet. Unfortunately, that's not right. So, time to either change, get with what we want as fans, or leave. Sell your shares. Glazers need to sell. We need someone to come in and buy and get this club going. And I'm just a small voice. I'm not even that long doing this podcast. I just started back in March. I know there's those out there. And, I'm going to shout out to some of them. The United Stand, who I've sometimes, listen, I'm not going to agree with all fan channels. I'll mention the United Stand. There is the United View. There are many other fan channels out there who sometimes they post things that I agree with. There's sometimes that they don't. But I definitely know that they agree with the way the ownership, the board, Ineos, and everything have handled everything. Even with the sacking of Ruben Amorim, again, they didn't sack him on results. They sacked him because he talked back. They want someone to be their puppet. That's what it is. And I know Ollie. I know what he's done for the club. I know his first go around wasn't the best. I've seen his interviews and talk. He wants to be there for the interim for the remainder of the season. Sure. I like really realistically, whoever the next manager is, and I've made this mention on many posts, whoever the next manager is has to accept that they cannot speak out, that they are a pawn, that they are a puppet, that they're not going to look at the best interest of the club, that they're just going to do what he's been told. That's the way everything's are going to go now with the way this club is. So, unfortunately, again, I'm hoping for the 58. If a member of the 58 is listening to the pod, 1, thank you. 2, I hope you find a way with the protest that we can impact a change. That I hope we do. And again, I was one of them that was like, okay, let's just see how it goes. Let's hold off. But you know what? I made the error, especially with the way what's happened in the last 48 hours. I've given myself just over 24 hours to deal with everything. But I made this is my piece. So I'm still going to support this club. I'm still going to be going for wins. I'm still hopefully that we're going to be qualifying for Europe. I will back the players on the pitch, even if sometimes they don't play the best. Whoever the manager is, I will acknowledge them. I know tomorrow's Darren Fletcher's debut. So I will be there to give support. I will still remain to be who I have been since I started this podcast in January or in March, and I will continue on with it. So I know I went long for this discussion and everything that's been going on, but it had to be discussed. It had to be talked about. So let's get into what tonight is. We have a game tomorrow, Burnley, round 2 against Burnley. Let's get into that. Okay. So we're coming off a draw. Our manager's been sacked. Darren Fletcher's coming in. It's not easy going into the transition, so on and so forth. I'm going to ignore the reports. Good news is we potentially have Mount and Bruno back tomorrow, which is great. Chances are they'll be coming off the bench, being monitored, reduced minutes. Listen, first time when we played Burnley, we just scraped by. I'm just going to pull up that last game. Let's just pull up that last match that we produced. That was earlier on. That was what, August? Yeah, that was definitely August. Yeah, it was before we lost to, it was the end of August. Because it was just before the first international break. Listen, it wasn't an easy game. Especially when we were playing it. Again, scoring 3 goals is great, but it took us in a penalty and extra time to get it. This is when the team was starting out. Listen, our team is depleted since this matchup. Again, we're having Bruno and Mount back. Okay. They're going to be monitored. They shouldn't be starting. We don't have Mbuemo. We don't have Diallo there. Mazraoui is out, but he was out for that game, I believe, too. Let me just check the lineup for that game. No, Mazraoui did play. He came on the 85th minute. I think this is when he was just coming back from his injury. Yes, because he got a knock. I believe it was there. Bayender was in net. De Ligt's not there. So it's a question of what is going to happen. Listen, the one thing too is we struggled giving up those goals. We have to bounce back in this game. This game is gonna send a message either way. One, we're lacking depth. Two, the ownership was never going to balance us. That's the one thing I forgot to mention. The ownership didn't decide not to do anything in January too. But we are going to be struggling in this game tomorrow. It's going to be like last weekend. Saying Mount and Bruno's back is great, but having them on the bench is one thing. I don't think he's going to start them. If he does, it's going to be different. Chance I believe we're probably going to see a 4-2-3-1. In that way, we may see a 4-3-3. I know people are talking about 4-4-2, but with the way the players that we have here, it's going to be different. So, like I said, Mount and Bruno will be on the bench. We'll have Cunha. Xerxes should be starting again. Listen, Burnley's at the bottom of the table. They have been struggling. Sorry if I just went off the map there. Let's just take a look at. I want to take a look at Burnley's last couple games. Let's just take a look here. They lost to Brighton on the weekend, losing to Newcastle, drawing Everton, drawing at Bournemouth, going on a struggle. Their last win was against Wolves back in October. They had back-to-back wins, 2-0 over Leeds, 3-2 over Burnley. And then, them beating Sunderland, having some big losses, some close ones, drawing Nottingham Forest, just losing 1-0. So, as much as they have been struggling, so have United. Yes, the games haven't been the best. We've been drawing. We've been drawing because of lack of depth. Will that be... it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same as it was when we played them. When we first played them, we still struggled. This is at the beginning of the season when you have all the players getting familiar with each other and you're slowly developing. I think this was our third game. And this was coming off of when we last played Burnley. This is when we were just coming off of how do I say it politely, a fucking humiliating defeat to Grimsby. That's where I would call out some of our players from that game, where I said Grimsby wanted it more, and damn right they did. It's the truth. They wanted it more than us. But that's when we struggled. Losing to Arsenal, draw to Fulham, losing in pens to Grimsby, and then we get our first win. Yeah, it was great. But then after that, from the international break, we lose 3-0. So that was a massive struggle. It was. The win was great because it didn't even really redeem us from Grimsby. But since then, we've evolved better. Like the Brentford loss reset us, coming away with a win at Sunderland, winning at Liverpool, winning at Brighton, drawing against Nottingham Forest, Tottenham. If you really look at it here, since that Brentford loss, since then, carrying forward, we've only lost twice. We're sitting in 6th. We have time to move up. I'm sorry, I'm getting off topic because this should have been included in my first section. So, I do, we've been successful, but that shouldn't matter. We have it. One thing going into this match tomorrow is, how do the players respond? Are they going to get a manager bounce? I don't know, because once Darren Fletcher does his one thing, we're potentially having a new manager coming in. Fletcher might be just managing tomorrow and then Sunday in the FA Cup, but after that, we'll have an interim for the rest of the year, potentially, and it might be Ollie. So we will see. But listen, tomorrow will be a struggle. I will say it. I'll say tomorrow will be a struggle. I don't know if there will be a manager bounce, because everything that Amorim tried to do is now gone. The holding the players accountable and everything, I think that dies. I think that died. I think tomorrow we will see whatever the players want to do tomorrow. This is me kind of calling out the players, and I think it will be a struggle. It will be. As much as we have Bruno, Mount, and everything, I think there's going to be a struggle. There won't be any players held accountable. Everyone's going to be like, oh, but it was all Ruben. No, like, this is going to be a struggle tomorrow. And if they win tomorrow, people will praise Fletcher. If they lose tomorrow, they'll be just reminding them that this was Amorim's team and Fletcher he just came in. I'm still going for the win, like I always do. But I'm going to say it's just going to be as bad as when we beat them the first time. It will be an ugly win. It will not be a controlled win, I don't believe. We still don't have much depth. Bruno and Mount are coming back from knocks. Xerxes, I do expect to start. But we won't see any academy players. I know people are making jokes that the Fletcher brothers will be starting tomorrow, but that won't be. But realistically, what my lineup is going to be tomorrow, Lamens, Net, Delo, Martinez, Heaven, Shaw is your back four. Going with a 4-2-3-1. Casemiro, Ugarte to start. Dorgu, Xerxes, Cunha, and Sesko. That's what I'm going with. That's what I believe. Like, that's experience right there. That's the best options as of right now. But yeah, it's not. Tomorrow's going to be interesting, and I'm being negative, and I don't want to be, but tomorrow will be to me. I feel like it will be a struggle. It has nothing to do with the Amorim losses because we've been struggling in our draws. We've had lack of depth. We have lack of quality players. The injuries have hurt us. Those two of those players are back from injury, but they're not at full 100%. Bruno looks like he forced himself or forced those to say, hey, I'm good to go. But it's just a matter of who turns up. Either way, there'll be a message there somehow in the game talking about, and it's going to be reference to Amorim and all that. Listen, it's tough because now I feel going on, especially with a game like this, that everything that Amorim tried to get into that locker room will now dissipate. That's just my feeling. And again, there's. So, listen, I'm going for the win. I believe that the team, they should be able to show up tomorrow. It's going to be like the first game, I believe, very similar. I don't know how successful the manager bounce is going to be, if there is going to be one. I'm going for the win. I believe they can win, but how the method of the win is going to be is up to them, up to Fletcher, up to the last 24 to 48 hours. But it is just, to say the least. When I did this preview, I tried to be a little cheerful, but I've let what I did in the first segment carry over to this, and I do apologize. But yeah, the players, it's going to be a struggle tomorrow. Even if Ruben was there, I still would have said it would have been a little bit of a struggle anyways, because the depth. Having Bruno and Mount, again, would probably give me a little bit more oomph, and it does. But realistically, it's yeah, it's what's going on. Like, it's here we are. So yeah, so I'll leave it there. I feel like I might go into more of a negative spiral as I do this preview, but listen, I'm going for a United win. I believe they can win. They have to fight it out. Again, the struggle will still be. I think there is going to be a struggle tomorrow. I'm not going to leave that there. The passing, the movement of the ball, carrying, like it all has to work out. Getting Sesko into the back of the net, I would love to see that. I hope Aiden Heaven is starting tomorrow. It's a big challenge for Darren Fletcher tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see what he does. But there's a lot of things that we're wondering what's going to happen tomorrow. So hard to say, but I believe this will be like similar to the last Burnley game. Hopefully it's not in the extra minutes where we have to win with a penalty. I hope that we just were able to score and close it out. But we will see. We will see. So I'll leave it there. As always, like, subscribe, follow YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, follow on social medias, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Listen, this is Manchester. This is United. This is Manchester United. This is a club that we all love. It has been a tough 48 hours. Please do not let the stuff that's been coming out, the spin about it, and forget what the Glazers and Ineos have been doing. They have made a mess. And this is now even worse than what it was last year. Because now when you look at it, millions have been spent on a screw-up that they've done. And I'm not saying Amorim was a screw-up. I believe he was the right choice. I believe them trying to build something was the right one too. The idea was there, but them executing it was a complete failure. It was. And the money that they spent, everything, it has just been a complete, utter mess. And like I said, close to between 43.5 to 45 million pounds just spent on Ten Hag, Ashworth, and Ruben. I don't even know what they paid out in regards to Ruud van Nistelrooy. They're going to be spending money too. Like there's going to be money spent. So we'll see how it progresses. But don't let the spins in the media and everything there. Amorim wasn't sacked because of results. He was sacked because he called out this ownership. And I'm happy with it. I just spent 28 minutes talking about this and calling them out. And I hope everyone looks to that. As much as we know we have an interim and I don't know, but going forward, I'm still going to do what I do. Talk about this club, post-game, everything. And we know there's going to be no January, so there's no point in me even talking about those transfers that I projected. So we'll just leave it there. I'll just talk about this, some news that comes up. I'm not going to, like, manager speculation, that won't matter until the summer. If Ollie's here, he's here. I'll talk about Ollie, so on and so forth. I'll talk about the game, what I didn't like, what I don't like, what they should have done. Like, it's the same that I'm going to be doing if Amorim was still here. But at this moment here, Amorim's not, and the project has gone backwards. The 2028 win the league is now taking a hit. We're supposed to be like, the phase is done. They're not going to win the league in 2028. I'll say that now. They haven't prepared anything. They're not going to be able to do anything. We'll be back here. I'll say if we hire the new manager, we'll be back here at Christmas, because I guarantee it, the way this board is, the way this ownership is, they'll be listening to those ex-players and that small amount of fan base that thinks that they speak for all of us, and have them sack another manager. They'll be sacking the puppet who is ever there. That's what it is. The next manager is going to be a puppet. So, yeah. Listen, enjoy the match tomorrow. I'll be back with post-game. Then Thursday, I'll be back again, catching up on the women's team as well, because, well, the women's squad have a game. They have a game on this weekend as well. So they're back. So lots to talk about. So Once again, like, subscribe, follow, whether on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, as well as Instagram, TikTok, and X as well. Enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the match tomorrow. This is the Red Devils Corner Kick Podcast. Glory, glory, Man United.